Hold on, gotta get my coffee. Flavor Country. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so 73, the Dinosaur Business Park Monument. I've been in planning for months and months and months, and now it's all due tomorrow. So you know how we do. Welcome to Signs. Um, Nothing too crazy. Like I said, you got CV Link meets Indio meets a basic box, but kind of weird to support this. With a little bit of canopy, little outside urchin boxes stacked on outside, hanging on, little limpets, little barnacles. The starboard and port really is only for these two faces, the main faces, because the dinosaur is justified funky. So on the starboard, it's all pushed this way. But otherwise, the 3 can only go one way, the 7 can only go one way. So, and these boxes are all universal. So the port and the starboard is really just for the skins, but we'll get into that. So with that being said, let's get after it. Lay of the land. So we got the Zonts on the main box. Those are all the verticals, I should say, the verts. These are the Zonts for that. You got all the jiggies for that. And then I'm actually just throwing in, because it's been a while, I'm throwing in 20 of the ones that we reuse down at the bottom all the time. I figured maybe yours are getting a little funky. It's got turkey goobers all over them or something, or getting hogged out. The holes are getting all yoked. So anyway, and then this is all the parts for the 7. So call Walter Clark at the 7s. Everything marked there. And then you've got, and that's going to be 09, just because these pieces need to be like solid and flat. But I did do the number 3 is all done out of 063. So hopefully that helps with you guys. All your jiggies are 09 for both. And then your faces are 09 for both. So they're kind of solid and flat. And again, here's your sort of main boys there. You got your top skin, and then these 2 little nuggets there. I did do the faces out of 09 on the side barnacle boxes, just because they'll be doing vinyl on these, and I doubt addresses are going to change, because literally the addresses are the addresses. But for some reason, if they want to go out and change the vinyl, they got to kind of put up with, so 063 is a little bit soft. But the frame boxes, the box frame pieces are 063. There's our usual plates, that, and then 1/2-inch clear acrylic. And I'm trying out the new for route. There's the new layer system for our CNC tap machine. Okay, so there's nothing too weird about this. It's just that don't get ahead of yourself. The whole point of this is that I think the most challenging thing, first off, is you're just going to build the number 3 for sure. I'm going to show you what's up with the 7, because you might have to build that in place. I'll show you what's up. Really the most challenging part though is going to be this. You're going to have to get that 063 with the teeth, because the teeth make it, that much fatter. Getting these guys bent around and getting inside this, just good luck. We're all counting on you. But otherwise, that piece just goes there. That should be fine. That should be fine. Anyway, now you're going to want to not skin anything, but get this built like you would an Indio letter, and then you're good to go. The 7, you can probably build parts of it, but you can maybe build the top part. Don't tack anything. I think you're okay to tack this, get this all built. But this, you want to hold off, because I'm going to show you. And then because the 3 has to sort of, because you're not going to have the skin on there. You don't have to worry about the skin part, but you have to get the 3 to tuck in, and it's 0.01 away from here, but essentially it's going to be touching there. I do have these reference points. Where it actually touches is here and at the bottom. So you'll have these holes here. These are done up for a rivet if you want, or, I would at least Cleco it, and then you can maybe either rivet, or I know you guys shoot screws. So either way, but there and there will be sort of your reference points for locking in. You do have a vertical that goes there. So your verticals are another challenge, because you got to put the verticals, and you got to put this bar in first. But you don't want to build this and weld it to where you can't get the 3 in. And then the 3 has to tuck into the 7, right? So if the 7 can't get in because this frame is in the way, then you might end up having to build the 7 once the 3 goes in to this. And you might end up just building like this part and then this part first. And I know you need to build this part because you have to skin this front part with this chunk because the 7 has to straddle that skin. So, right. So, just play it by ear. Like I said, I think you're okay to weld this part and have it done, but I would not just Cleco and start welding frame. You might need to build this kind of part around this, and the 7 might actually have to be built in place up against the 3. Also, you have to skewer. Now, you can obviously skewer from this side. This top boy goes all the way through and skewers the 7 and everything, kind of helps line everything up. But even though you do have attachment points here, you have two reference, these reference boys here are rivet, but however you want to do it, but you can at least Cleco the 3 here to the 7 there. That should work. So that should lock you in. Plus you have these points here that will touch, and this point here should touch the 3. So, you know, a good touch, not in a bad way. And then that skewer should go all the way through. However, this time I did make, you can see where the orange is right here. I did make these skewer boys actually kind of fat this way. So the 3 could technically rock back and forth this way because I oversized it for you guys that way. I just made it tighter, you know, side to side and all that. So that way it kind of locks itself in that way, like side to side. So I wouldn't totally just trust that that goes through, but you do have this boy that has to slide through. So when you skewer this one, and I've got these guys here, this is all 2x2x8. So those are your 2 verts. I got the little stubby guy for the 27 for the 7 there. And then you've got a 2x4 that goes all the way through. But in order to get this guy to skewer through the 3, you can't come from the top because you'll have that closed. So that means you have to come through the bottom. So that means you probably don't want to put the bottom on there yet to slide that through. But then you got to put this because you have to build this part at least for the 7 because it has to straddle the skin. So the skin goes on first. But you have to also make sure the 7 can build into the 3 and then tack the vertical and all that, and then make sure it skewers through and all of that. So that's what I'm saying. Don't just go and Cleco the frame together and start tacking. You're going to have to think about this one a little bit, but start with the 3, get it ready, start putting the frame together, see about getting your skewers done, getting all that, and then see about getting like this part and that part ready. And then if it works and you know you're just going to build the 7 maybe in place with this pole sticking up and start just, you know, building it there and then tack it all to that. But then you're going to, like I said, you're going to need to put this skin on so the 7 can straddle it. You can see a side view there. So you got those little boys down here. Those guys are clearance. I have a 16 on both sides for the skin. So there's your skin there. So that's the skin. You got a 16th to straddle. So it should work for you, but that's where that goes. So anyway, just the 7's a little wild card. You'll have to kind of probably, like I say, skin something a little earlier than you usually do. I would leave these guys off though until you're ready. Get everything tacked. And then once you finally get everything good to go and you're at a position where everything is the way it's supposed to be, then hooray. Then go ahead and tack it all together. Tack the 3 to the 7, put the 7 together, all, you know, however you're going to do it. But that's all. Just giving you a heads up that don't, you know, you need to skin this before the 7's complete. And then once you're dead, once you're all like satisfied, everything's done, then go ahead and put the skins on. I would also, when you go to attach this to the frame itself, I would also test fit this skin to make sure that the 3 isn't leaning weird. The 3 should touch this frame bit here. This sticks out. These are hollow pockets right here. This will be just skin on the main box, but this gives you somewhere to lords to. But these will be hollow pockets here and here. And like I said, you have these points here that touch. You can either rivet, they're clearance for rivet, or you can shoot screws. But either way, but I would also, before you get too crazy locking everything in, once you have this like made and the 7's on there with that skin and all that, I would take these big skins and just test fit to make sure that nothing's too crazy. And I have a 0.01. Yes, it's pretty tight. You might end up having, because, you know, this will be a little weird, you know, it's human, however you can get it done. But you might end up having to kind of adjust that a little bit. That way you're not, you know, popping lords and going, oh crud, it's wrong. And that being said, though, once you do get the skins on, If there's any kind of big gaps, you might decide whether you want to just inject Lords and do a fillet weld and then do a scrape and clean it up. And that way, instead of Bondo, that's completely sealed and looking clean with some Lords all the way around that 3. Again, the 7 just sits on top. Whether you want to like fill that gap in because you'll have that, you know, the little this little gap right here. You can decide whether you want to clean that up and inject that with Lords. It's all up to you guys. So yeah, so just go easy, use your thinking cap, get all that put together, tack it up. So then when it's time, you're just going to put the faces on port to starboard. That way this is all correct. And then you're just going to build these boxes similar to canopy. You're going to kind of just build these boxes on top of the skin. So I have these set up for Cleco. So these notches are to clearance the Cleco gun, the Cleco pliers, and then you're going to go ahead and just assemble. Now, what I would do though is probably make sure everything fits, and then as you go, pop Lords that back on there, Cleco it, and then let it cure, work your way through Cleco Lords, get these on there. And then if you have any Lords left, go ahead and Lords the seams because they're just going to meet each other. But I would just put a little Lords right there just to strengthen that and then let it sit. And then if you want, either roll Lords and that's fine, or go back through and you can shoot screws here and there just to make sure they don't go anywhere. Then you're going to go through and just put the faces on top, Lords that, all seal that all up. Or you can get these on there. And then when you go to put the faces on, that's when you shoot a little Lords in the seams. But anyway, I just like to stabilize those seams a little bit. And then put the faces on and you're done. And then that's it. So, anyway, so that's it. 3x3 by quarter for some reason. You know how they do. They always throw us a curveball. So this time they decided 3x3. So you have that. You get your 2x4 there. So that's your cut list. But otherwise, I think you're good. Just got to kind of think and cap it and kind of put the puzzle pieces together. But don't forget, you got to trap the face with the 7. So it's a little different than we usually do. We usually don't put faces on before we actually, that's the last thing we do usually. So anyway, so, and then when it comes time to put the flat cutout letters on, you can choose whether to reach in there and, you know, however you want to do that. So that's all 1024 though. And CNC tap, man. Good luck with that. All right then. So I think that's it. So if you have any questions, hit me up.
Check, check, check.